Taylor's House of Hope is a maternity home, and it was birthed during my pain. In 2014, I met a musician. I am a singer, and so I met a church musician in church. And I thought that he was going to sweep me off my feet and possibly marry me as he said he would. And it was a new thing. My parents, they were very strict, and so when they accepted this guy and even allowed him to come to the house sometimes to visit, and even allowed me to go out of town with him, that was a new thing for me. And when I went out of town with this young man, we had a wreck on the freeway. And when we had this wreck, I was driving. He asked me to drive, and it was an SUV. I had never driven an SUV before, and he needed a front-end alignment. And so we were going into a U on the freeway, and suddenly we crashed. I just lost control. I don't know. It just suddenly happened, and we crashed into the wall. And when we crashed into this wall, instantly I heard God say, if you mess with this guy, you will crash your life.
My God.
I ignored the sign, and I just was like, oh, whatever, and this is fun, it's okay, you know, it's going to work out, and I chose to continue on with this young man. Well, a few months later, I ended up dropping out of college. I ended up moving out of my parents' house, stopped going home and breaking the curfew and doing whatever I wanted. I ended up blowing the engine on my car, and then I became pregnant. And when I got pregnant, during my 4th month, he burned off. He went MIA and jumped into a new relationship and was nowhere to be found during my whole pregnancy. Wow. And so I ended up at a maternity home here in Houston. And it turned out to be like a retreat for me, even though I was going through that pain and all of that. It was a retreat for me. It seemed like a nice resort, and it helped me during that time. Yeah. Well, during my, after I had my daughter, during when she was 3 months, he resurfaced, he came back, and oh, let's work it out, and I fell for it again, and became pregnant again with my son, and he abandoned me again. And when he abandoned me, he also had someone else pregnant as well. So I went through the emotions all over again. It felt like 2 years of being pregnant and lonely all by myself. And my parents, they were strict. They showed tough love. So they were like, you know, if you just need to come here, you can come here. But there's some help out there, and you need to find it, because if we're not here, what are you going to do? You have to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. So I went through shelters and being homeless for 2 years, even after having my children, and being broken, calling this guy every day. He would never answer, even from private numbers, block me on Facebook. I would pop up at churches, and he would just run out of the church, and you know, it was just nothing. It was out of my hands. And so I stand here now today. I have went through the motions. I am now delivered from depression. I am back in school. I have Taylor's House of Hope. I've been celibate for 2.5 years. And I am now doing very well for myself, no longer homeless, and I am making it very well. And I now feel that I am able to help other young mothers who are going through the same experience. And I just say that it's a blessing. You know, we don't understand what we're going through and why we are going through it, but our testimony is not for us, it's for other people.
Amen. Praise God. Amen.